Welcome to Conversations and Connections to Amplify and Inspire. I'm Karen Powell, and this is the second series of my podcast where I take you on a journey into meaningful conversations that inspire action and create lasting impact. This season, we're taking things to the next level, exploring how simple introductions and a curiosity to learn can lead to extraordinary moments. Together, we'll uncover stories, celebrate the transformative power of human connection and how it drives us to collaborate, contribute, create a better future, and influence change in our community. I hope you enjoy it. Hello and welcome to Conversations and Connections. I'm Karen Powell, your host, also known as the Network Catalyst, and it's wonderful to have you here. Perhaps you've been listening to Series 1 of the podcast or started to listen to Series 2. Whichever, it's great that we're connected. In this reflective episode, I want to pause and look back at one of the recent conversations that I've had in Series 2 with Kate Dunn Flynn, an educator, professor, and deeply insightful human being whose wisdom on rejection and redirection really struck a chord with me. Kate shared the idea that setbacks can become silver linings when we choose to reflect, reframe, and repurpose the experience. And I couldn't agree more. As I listened back to our conversation, it reminded me of many stories, not just from others I've worked with, but from my own journey as well. And today I want to reflect on what Kate shared, how it connects with what I've learned and written about in my book, 2 Ears, 1 Mouth and a Big Heart, and why I believe the problems, when we lean into them, can be powerful portals to change. Let's begin with this truth. Life rarely follows a straight line. And yet when things don't go to a plan, it's easy to feel as though we've failed or missed our chance. But often it's in those moments when we feel rejected, uncertain, or off course that something bigger is waiting to unfold. Kate spoke so beautifully about rejection as redirection, how the moments we label as failures can actually push us towards something more aligned and more meaningful. And that got me thinking about a few stories I included in my book. It's a common saying, I'm sure you know, that life wasn't meant to be easy, and without being too pessimistic, we all face challenges and problems of some description throughout our life. However, whether you treat these challenges as a problem or an opportunity boils down to how you view and manage them. Often people describe this as seeing the glass half full, but I've heard problems described as facts of life, and some even say they are merely a solution in disguise. There is some truth in every saying, but I can attest to the following truth. A problem shared is a problem halved, and a supportive network can make all the difference. At some point, we all need support of family and friends, and most of us have people we can lean on. But not everyone recognises that the support is available from unexpected sources. They're either unaware of the possibilities or so immersed in their situation they cannot see or think beyond the barriers that are holding them back. I want you to know you do have a choice and there is opportunity to lean on others for support. You just have to know where to look. In my book, I share the story of Jane Seymour, co-founder of Mount Zero Olives, who was on a panel at an event I ran. Mount Zero Olives is a primary producer of olives and olive oil, and Jane shared the trials and tribulations of running an award-winning iconic brand that was beholden to the elements and far outside her comfort zone. Jane and her husband Neil established Mount Zero Olives in 1993 following an unexpected redundancy. Neil was looking for a new venture and they fell in love with a derelict olive grove in the foothills of Mount Zero, adjacent to the Grampians National Park. Jane's first glimpse of the property was on a scorching, hot, dusty day in January. The soil baked hard in the sun with scores of shriveled, stunted olive trees that had been neglected for decades made Jane's heart sink. How could they ever transform this overgrown mess into a business venture that could support them and fulfill Neil's dreams and restore his confidence? Fast forward, and Mount Zero's olive is now an iconic brand distributed nationally and to some of our Asian neighbours. Jane's journey was full of challenges, finding new opportunities through necessity and eventually achieving success. It's a story of triumph over adversity, And here are some of the challenges expressed in her own words. Leaving a comfortable home in the city, a secure, well-paid job and the closeness of family and friends to set up home in a tin shed or an outside dunny in a makeshift shower rigged up in a rusty old tank, hours away from the city and everything it has to offer, and having to start from scratch in an isolated, rugged environment, having to learn how to nurse the olive trees back to good health through long hours of back-breaking work, persevering through sweltering long summers, facing fire and drought, learning to respect and embrace the principles of biodynamic farming, and learning to love the rugged beauty of the land in all seasons, learning how to live sustainably and forge new relationships, including those with local Indigenous people, forging a new path as a woman on the land with courage, bloody-minded determination and resilience. Jane's story is so inspirational, and it highlights pitfalls, a different business perspective and a willingness to learn and exchange knowledge and skills. What seemed like an enormous problem turned out to be an opportunity to live a very full and interesting life while creating a business that continues to expand. In the early stages of my career, I moved suburbs, shifted industries, raised a family, and built a business. Each transition brought with it uncertainty, but also opportunity. My business community was born from one of those moments, a time when I felt I was no longer aligned with what I was doing and unsure what came next. That discomfort, rather than something to avoid, became a signal to listen more deeply, to have honest conversations and to reconnect with what mattered to me. People, relationships, and creating spaces where people could learn and thrive through connection. The conversation with Kate reminded me that resilience isn't about avoiding the fall. It's about how we land, what we learn, and how we rise. That the silver linings don't always show up straight away, but they are there, waiting for us to change our lens. So here's what I invite you to consider today. Perhaps even listen to the session with Kate again, and then reflect yourself on, is there a moment in your life that felt like a rejection, but with time became a redirection? What did you learn? Who showed up for you in that moment? What strength did you uncover in yourself that you didn't know was there? Because resilience doesn't just come from pushing forward. It comes from pausing, reflecting, and having the courage to connect with ourselves and others. I truly believe that real conversations can open those doors. They allow us to share our stories, to be heard, to feel less alone, to learn from the experiences of others, and to discover what's possible when we're willing to ask for help, share a challenge, or take that next step, even if it feels uncertain. If you're navigating a moment of change or redirection, know that you don't have to do it alone. Start with a conversation, reach out, reflect, and be curious about what this moment might be making space for. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Reach out via email or connect with me through my website or LinkedIn. And if you haven't yet listened to the conversation with Kate Dunn Flynn, I invite you to do so. I also recommend you follow her on LinkedIn. Her posts are insightful and thoughtful, and a rich exchange that might just shift how you view your own setbacks. Remember, we're all just one conversation from a new perspective, a new direction, or even a new beginning. Let's keep talking, let's keep connecting, and let's try turning problems into possibilities together. Until next time, I'm Karen Powell, and this is Conversations and Connections. Thank you for joining me on Conversations and Connections today. I hope this conversation sparked new ideas and reminded you of the power of meaningful connections. A huge thank you to all of our guests for sharing their valuable insights and inspiring stories. Visit my website at karenpowell.com.au. You'll find resources, insights, and opportunities to work with me to make every conversation count and create lasting impact. Don't forget to subscribe, share this episode, and leave a review to help spread the word. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and let's start making an impact together, one conversation at a time.